Now, moving on to the pond, again, make file backups, make a copy, hit save. The pond we're going to do in a different grading group because we don't need any of the grading to interact with the site grading around our sidewalk and concrete pad. And we're going to do a couple of different things to the pond. So I'm going to create a new grading group called pond grading group. We're going to make a surface out of these eventually, and I just want the pond grading to be a different surface than the grading around the sidewalk and the concrete pad. So that's another reason to use different grading groups. Now that I've made that grading group, I can open up the creation tools. There are a couple things we need to do for the pond grading that's different than what we just did for the sidewalk and the concrete pad. The first thing we need to do is grade the inside of the pond. We want the pond to have some kind of depth to it, right? So that way it can hold water and have a volume. So we need to define that. We will then define the pond berm, and then we will grade to the surface. So to start with the inside of the pond, instead of using the grade to surface tool, I will use grade to relative elevation. This way I can select my feature line, select the inside, and apply it to the entire length. And now I can select how deep I want my pond to be, basically. So say I want my pond to be negative 2.5 feet. This number is sort of arbitrary. In reality, if you are an actual practicing engineer, you would be doing the calculations on how much water you need to retain, your volume and surface area and all of that. For our purposes, I would pick any number between -1 and -3, and that should work fairly well. I'm going to pick -2.5, and I'm going to grade to a 4:1 slope. So now that I've done that, you can see it made the inside of my pond. I can view this in the model viewer if I click on everything and hopefully everything adds correctly. I look at it in the model viewer. It doesn't look like the grading is showing up the way I want it to. That is okay for now. It might show up in the object viewer. Yeah, there we go. So in the object viewer, you can see what this grading looks like. I've created the inside of my pond. One thing you'll notice is the bottom is hollow, and we want to define the bottom to be a surface. So that's where another grading tool comes in. You'll notice this diamond here that shows it's a grading object. We need to do the same thing for the bottom of this pond so it knows to connect these elevations together and make it flat. Under the creation tools, there's this create infill button. If you click on that and select an area to infill, that diamond will appear. Now if I hit escape, and I'm going to open this very purposefully in the object viewer so you can see it. It doesn't look like it's going to show now, but when we go to actually make this a surface, Civil 3D will recognize that and work with it. This is why I like the model viewer more than the object viewer. This one's really more difficult to control. So we've done the inside of the pond. Now we need to do the outside. The first thing we're going to do is create a berm. A berm is a part of the pond right on the outside of the pond, and it essentially is there just to keep the water in and help with sediment control and runoff. And also it increases the residence time and the amount of filtration the water gets into the ground, which is good. So we're going to create that now, and we're going to do a grade to distance here. I will go back to creating the grading, and I will select my feature line, select the outside, apply it to the entire length. And here I'm going to do 6 feet. So I'm just going to type in 6 and hit enter. For the slope, I will do a 3:1 slope. So if I'm doing a 3:1 slope for 6 feet, that means this berm will be 2 feet of elevation, right? And you can see it made it there. Lastly, we'll do one more grade, this time actually to the surface with our 4:1 grading that we've been using. So I'll select this outside feature line, apply it to the length, and do 4:1. And notice that I'm doing all of this in the pond grading group, 4 to 1. Now it has made the entire thing here. It looks like my cursor is being a little bit funky. There we go. So just a couple of quick things here. You can rename these feature lines whenever you make grading. Civil 3D does it using feature lines. So if you click on it and go to the properties, I can call this, for example, pond bottom. I can call, this was the one we started with originally, it basically has that pond feature line name already. I can go out again and call this pond berm, and I can name this one pond to surface. So that can help a little bit when you're looking at this and you're trying to figure out which line is which in a plan view. I would recommend naming them. That might help a little bit as well. I'm not sure how this will show up in 3D, but let's do our best to see what it might show up as. Just try to select everything that I can, add it to the model viewer. So you can see the sort of general shape here. I think if I go to the object viewer, it might, there you go. You can really see it now, what that looks like. So it filled in the bottom now. You can see that there. And this is what our pond will look like. So this is the pond in the bottom. This is the berm right here. And that is all of the transition. And this area is going to be cut, which is why it is red, I believe. All right, so I hope you can see the power of grading. We just did all of our site grading around the concrete pad, the sidewalk, and the pond, and we left the rest of the site untouched, So Civil 3D is really powerful like that. It is really fast. If you wanted to grade your whole site, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. One way I've seen being done is creating feature lines along your site to function as contours and then using gradings along that. So that might look like, using a polyline like this and say I want my contour to go this way across my site. And I want the next contour for the next foot. So say this is 575, I want 574 to be here, like this. So I can do that and create feature lines out of these lines and then use the grading tool to assign elevations that way. That's something I've seen be done. This can be really helpful when you have, fairly consistent or flat grading across your site. If this is all 575 and this is all 570, it will just, do it for you. So that's something that I've seen done for parking lots, especially. But we don't need to do any of that. So in the next set of videos, we will create surfaces out of these grading objects and our feature lines, and then we will create cut and fill profiles.